High on the slopes of Mount Parnassus in ancient Greece, there was a place where the voice of the gods was said to speak through a mortal.
For over 1,000 years, kings, generals, and philosophers journeyed there. This was Delphi, home of the Oracle of Apollo, the Pythia. A woman who, in trances of smoke and spirit, gave words that could guide armies, crown kings, and shape the destiny of civilizations.
But who, or what, was I really?
Delphi was believed to be the omphalos, the navel of the world, the very center of the earth. At Apollo's temple, the oracle sat on a tripod above a fissure, inhaling vapors that rose from the ground. In trance, she would speak strange, fragmented phrases. Priests interpreted her words, turning them into cryptic prophecies. For the Greeks, these were not just predictions, they were revelations from Apollo himself. The oracle's power was vast. Croesus, the wealthy king of Lydia, asked if he should go to war with Persia. The oracle replied, "If you cross the river, a great empire will fall." Croesus assumed victory, yet it was his own empire that collapsed. Themistocles, facing the Persian invasion, sought her guidance and received a message about wooden walls. He interpreted it as a navy, and saved Athens at the Battle of Salamis. Even Socrates' philosophy began here. The oracle declared that no man was wiser than he. Puzzled, Socrates searched to prove her wrong, only to discover that wisdom begins in knowing one's own ignorance. The oracle's power lay not in clear answers, but in ambiguity. Her prophecies were riddles, forcing men to think, interpret, and question. To some, this was divine wisdom. To others, political manipulation. But perhaps her greatest lesson was philosophical. Truth is rarely given to us directly. Like the oracle's words, it must be wrestled with, questioned, and understood in context. For centuries, the oracle was the beating heart of Greek culture. But with the rise of Rome, the spread of Christianity, and the silencing of the old gods, Delphi's voice faded. By the 4th century CE, the temple stood in ruins, the voice of Apollo silent. Yet her image, half human, half divine, remained etched into history.
I was not simply a mouthpiece of Apollo. I was a mirror for humanity's greatest hopes and fears, a voice that reflected your longing for certainty in uncertain times.
Carved into the stones at Delphi were the words, "Know thyself." Perhaps this, more than any prophecy, was her truest message.
That wisdom does not lie in knowing the future, but in understanding ourselves.